Good morning, everyone. Is one of those mornings right? None of that is right. That's impossible. 36? I don't think so. And all that information is wrong. So I will just go ahead and get rid of that. Nobody's here anyway right now. So we'll get rid of some of this. Looked like a shit fucking show this morning. Should have taken some kind of shower or something. Got ready. Dive back. Yes! Look who it is! That's amazing. That's amazing. You're going to go stream with her as well? That's so cool. I mean, every single show. I got this one. Oh my God. I was doing film editing last night and had on this guy. And from what I've surmised for my anniversary, my wife also has another one coming up. So, yeah. You're awesome. You're totally awesome. Dying to bat. I always forget how to say it. Baddock. There we go. Dying to Baddock. Dying to Baddock. Dying to Baddock. If you're not following, you have to go follow. And if you want just the sickest Warhammer shit out there, swag wise, that's where you go. That's where you go. This morning was a little hectic. I was using like a new dongle on my system, and every single time I like unplug it, I have to go re-find all the sources for cameras and audio and pencil and everything like that. So it was definitely a under the wire. I was like, oh, 10 o'clock. Yo, dongle hell, exactly. Good morning, Ed. Yeah, man, West Coast boys. I love that you're always like up nice and early. And I know you were up a million times like earlier than this as well, which is freaking sick. I'm gonna go ahead and shrink this guy up just a bit here. I mean, I love your guys' messages. You guys are squelching me out. I think I might have to change some of that text to black too now that I have you on a different background. Or I guess I can just like switch the whole thing up too. I may bring some. This should be top. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is, I'll just stay here. I don't have time to fix that other shit, dude. All music, no talk. Yeah. It's again, like I said, my dongle, every single time I unplug it and replug it in, it totally scratches my settings. So every single time I stream, I have to go in and fix it. I have to go fix it. And I'm really sorry about that, guys. I'm sure it's getting annoying. It's like, wow, you're into this like a week or so and you're still like fucking this shit up. But I don't know why it just doesn't save it as, it's even plugged into the dongle the same. It's really confusing as to why it doesn't recognize it better. So, I'm going to have to go YouTube some shit and figure that out. But To piggyback off of kind of what I was saying, happy Monday. I'm glad you're all here. Ed, I know you love some psychedelic stuff. Dying to Baddock makes this shirt that I'm wearing. Does commission work as well. So even if you don't want some Warhammer stuff, Ed, we could totally come up with some sick droning shirts, which I know me and Laserhawk are already on. Want to make some drone stuff. I mean, I do have a little like swag. Yeah, okay, done. I do have some little swag in my shop right now, but that was just a quick like throw it together, and I'd love to. We can hear you now. It's all good. Yeah. And my wife just checking in. She's like literally doing her own thing, like in class right now, and just checking the stream to be like, "Yo, hubby, don't jack this up." But yeah, and I'll throw some more stuff of Dying to Baddock stuff out there. I am a huge fan. I got my wife some stuff. It is our second anniversary, so it's technically like the cotton anniversary, you know, if you're into those sort of traditions or whatever. We're not traditionalist in the sense, like we definitely just got married at the courthouse and did it on a Wednesday and went to work on a Thursday and then flew out on our honeymoon on a Friday. And kind of the reason like we got married when we did was to turn some, thanks man, thanks Ed, was to turn this vacation into a honeymoon. So it was, you know, that was 2 years ago. And like I said, it's the cotton anniversary. So I know my wife grabbed me some more Dying to Baddock swag. Not sure what it is yet, but I'm pretty sure it's still part of my favorite Chaos God at the moment, Nurgle. And I grabbed her some other, you know, some cotton swag. I don't think she's listening, so I can't really tell you guys. Otherwise, I totally would. But just some low key stuff. It's been, you know, we were planning last year's. Give you guys a little personal insight. Last year we were actually about to go to Napa for our anniversary, and obviously March 13th a year ago was right as everybody was going into a 2-week lockdown. You know, 2 weeks, and we didn't want to have somebody watch our dog and then be stuck in California maybe past that 2 weeks. And so we stayed home and we had a staycation, and that staycation has been happening for like almost a year now. Because again, I'm here in beautiful New York. It's nice and sunny, and there are a lot of skyscrapers right here in Manhattan on the island in Gramercy. It's gorgeous. But back to some Warhammer talk, right? Like that's why I'm doing this thing. And Ed, thank you so much for your shout out. That was amazing. The video, I'll give you a rundown on the video. It really is, right, this kind of like this why on why Warhammer, and I get a lot of how do I say this? I understand a lot of hesitation with such an expensive hobby, right? And Ed, I'm sure you understand some of it with people in droning, and it's like, man, trying to fly a real live drone real fast through some gates can you can blow up $100 real quick, and it's going to cost you, you know, at least $50,000 to like dip your toe into that pool. And Warhammer can be similar. I mean, you're not playing for pink slips, and your models aren't going to get wrecked, but it's still a pretty big front end load investment if you're trying to get into either 40K or Warhammer AOS proper, which again is the kind of the 2K point, 2,000 point scenario that you talk about. I went through last Friday, didn't record it, but walked Ed and Laserhawk kind of through some small list building at about 1,000 points, and I think that's a really good place to start. But what I'm going to do is actually go through the gaming systems today that they have available at Games Workshop. I think that kind of understanding the landscape that's available and what levels you can get involved in and how easy some things can be is just helpful, right? It's useful. It's for somebody who spent, almost 20 years in and out of this hobby. All right, here we go. For somebody who spent 20 years in and out of this hobby, I can save you in a lot of pitfalls. This I just got to talk about this for 2 seconds. This is the brand new Bellicor model. And let's just go to it. Sorry, it is Monday. It is supposed to be news. Dude, this thing is huge. I'm sick. I'm in love already. He's got 6 stats. He's a beast. Woo. I'm dying. Okay, I'll go jump into that in my own time. Okay, so the systems, right? You don't have to get into Warhammer. It's not, like I said, you don't have to jump in at the 2,000 point. You don't have to jump in at, I'm gonna dump $500 to $700 into getting into this hobby where, to begin with, like, you may be just interested in it, but you're not like sold, right? You're not super gung ho. So they have what I talk about, AOS a lot, the 40K over here, Middle Earth. If you really are obsessed with Tolkien and his exact world, like, you can go be there in Middle Earth. That's one of the only games I haven't really messed with either. Is I don't like knowing the outcome of a battle before I play it, so that's never really got me. Black Library, we will definitely jump into at some point. That is not a game. That is actually where they have all of kind of their fiction, fan fiction lore, tomes, books. You can find anything about any kind of character or scenario or world right in there. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then box games. This is a whole kind of corner of the Warhammer universe that people may or may not know about. And I'm going to start with kind of the first, easiest one here. And this is the Underworlds. This is right now, it's Beastgrave. We'll just go straight to getting started. And it is a board game. I guess it's Direchasm now. It is a board game and a miniatures game all in one, along with deck building. So if you ever like Magic the Gathering, it's very similar to that type of deck building, but then you do have to move your pieces much like chess, and then anything that's Warhammer related always has dice. So, and it's a one-stop shop too. You can get into it, again, $75. You can get it on like Amazon or a million different hobby spots as well that'll start populating into some of my different sites. You can find it for about $60. Now again, that is no paint. That is just the contents of the box. It comes with 2 warbands, so you'll get your crazy Lumineth Realm Lords, which are elves who live in the plane of light, the realm of light. The guy's got an owl and a crazy top knot. Some crazy sword dudes with bows, dudes with giant hammers. And the whole style of this gameplay is you basically play the best out of 3 rounds. Your cards actually, you have 2 different card decks for each one. And again, the box comes with it. 2 different card decks. You have the gold ones, objective cards, and then the other ones are like gambit cards. They let you play things. They let you create, make moves, make combos. And then as you see, each of the ones here along the side, I should like get a cool cursor for you guys. Each one of these things over here is like the stat card for each one of the models. So, and it's a great way to kind of jump into the Warhammer world. And what's great about it as well is each one of the war bands, which I'll go show you for this, you can actually use then in a big game of AOS. It actually has the rule stats for not just in this game, but in the larger game as well. And this is the wife's warband. This is who she plays. It's Morgweth. She is an elf, daughters of Cain. She's like a slaughter queen. There's a slaughter sister. Snake lady, like a naga. This is mostly what her army is the snakes. She's got snakes, and then they call Kanarai, which are like harpies. They're winged. But I mean, there's lots and lots of warbands. Let's see if we can go to just all warbands. And they are seasonal. So if you like a warband, you sort of gotta catch it while it's hot. Yep, this is another one that I have here. This is for my Nurgle gross stuff. This is Fecula with the worm spat. And so whenever you buy one of these, right, like an additional pack with it, like I said, it comes with the rules so you can play them in the larger AOS. They also come with their own card pack. Comes in a kit, comes in a box. And the cards that come in it aren't necessarily just specific to that warband. There are cards specific to it, but you can include it. There's universal cards. So you can expand your whole game. Which is pretty sick, and it's a real easy way to get in. $33 to $40 a warband. Again, a whole stack of cards. Some cool ass miniatures. I actually love the Rippa Snarlfangs. Love me a good little goblin, and you put that dude on a big ass wolf, and it's pretty sick. And you know, there was a warband. It's not here anymore because again, it's seasonal. But as you can see, most of them are between 4, 5. This guy had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 is a pretty big warband. Here's another 7 one big Chungus and a couple little guys. This is actually 2 warbands right here. Stormcast Eternal and some Night Haunt. So it's actually a doubles warband. The biggest one was 9 models. So in terms of an easy way to get involved and something that is like very structured and if you like deck building and that sort of a game scenario, the Beastgrave, the Underworlds, the Dire Chasm, it's called Underworlds, is a really fun place to start. And you can just get it at that size and you know get the start collecting box. You don't even have to paint the models. You can just have the models. And see if you are even into that style of gameplay, into like a miniatures type gameplay. There's a whole nother pretty crazy game that I really like. I actually play it a lot on Xbox and Steam. I've been in a couple leagues. There's another one starting up, which I hope to win in. My team, I made playoffs my very first round last year. But this Blood Bowl, it is football in the Warhammer universe. There's a team, the Griffins. Pretty, you got ogres, these are all humans. There's your captain. I don't know how this hawk is bringing him his medals. I don't know what's going on there. Just some dudes being dudes. And we have some orcs. You know what I should do over here? If you guys give me 2 seconds here. I want to just add a little audio source. Okay, let's see if that did what I wanted. It did. Alright, you guys should have a little tunage here. If anybody's able to give me a little sound checkerino, that would be great. Trying to keep the tunes in there. There we go. Now you got a little tunage while we do this thing. Alright, so yeah, I mean, now you got orcs, gobos, you know, if you want to be a big smasher. And what's really cool about this game is it's really designed as well based on seasons. The rules for what you're playing in an Xbox scenario is actually exactly how the rules work on the tabletop. You roll dice in the virtual space, you roll dice here. The way movement and all of the abilities work are all the same. So if you actually learn how to play the game on Steam or on your Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, you'll actually know how to play the game when it comes to the tabletop, which I think is a really smart game design space. I'm really obsessed with these minis. These are some really sick sculpts that they made for the orcs especially. I really love these black orcs. So, and it's a similar sort of thing, right? Like, to start getting into the game, it's a little more expensive because you're getting 2 full teams, comes with a lot of miniatures, a lot of extra stuff. It's $140, but each of the teams after that is about $40. Now, it does sort of depend on the team. Sometimes you need 2 boxes to make what we would consider an effective team. Can you put this team as is on the field? Absolutely. But you do only get 4 of the ogres, and you can field up to 6 of them. I actually think starting with 5 is the magic number. And so that would, immediately dictate you get another one, but then it's like, well, what do I do with these other ones? So maybe split a box with somebody, there's some options out there. The dwarf team is self-sufficient. The halfling team, you get the halflings, and then you want to pick up some big boys. They have some tree people and stuff like that are supplemental characters. So this box and some additional characters right here. We got big guys. Some big guys. You can get that. Obviously, he's out of stock. The treatment is out of stock right now. You can check out this model. He is a wicked sick model. A couple of different ways to assemble him. But yeah, you're going to add that guy into the team. So, he's $32. So you're still, for an effective little halfling team, is again about $70 or so. But $140 will get you straight up into the game. And, you don't have to paint the miniatures. You can, they are quick fit, snap fit. You can put them together and immediately get to playing. Now, Blood Bowl miniatures do, they don't have a place in any of the larger games. It is just what it is. They have some interesting kind of one-off games as well, which I really liked more when I was younger, and I've thought about getting back into some of this. Aeronautics, right? The Aeronautica Imperialis, Aeronautica for short, is a dogfight game. It's based on combat in the skies. But the thing that is nice about these games is they have, this is $90 gets you started. I mean, and it has everything you need to play with somebody else, not just with yourself, but you get to play 3 different types of Imperial vehicles. Orcs, you got some bombers, you got some fighter bombers. Excuse me. You got it all right here. Shows you how to play. Comes with the mat. Boom. 2 sides. Cityscape. Open desert. You flip it. The side you want to play on. The markers. The dice. The decals. If you want to paint them. I mean, it comes with everything, right? Like, it's out of box. You can start playing this game, which is pretty sick. There's another game that's similar in the sense of, it's like out of box. Same thing. Here we go. Titanicus. It's the big, huge war walkers. It's just shrunk down to a much smaller scale, right? So these, again, would not be compatible with the larger, like 40K or Kill Team. But this game is pretty sweet in that it is, if you were ever into any of the mech games, the game is very granular, and you can definitely level up and, play campaigns over time. Guys get experience. You can change out guns. They can increase their armor, shields. And as the game is being played, when I say it's granular, it's, you can shoot and damage this gun, or just damage his ability to move, or it's into the minutia of how things work. Obviously, they have specific scenery for the game because it's a much smaller size, so you can, build out that world. This is a giant, the Nemesis Titan. You can go, again, as big as you want, right? This is $90 for one Titan in a micro game. So it's huge. It's bloody huge. And it's similar in that it also is sort of card-based. GW has been increasing more and more as to what kind of cards are involved in each of their games. But I just wanted to give that a quick view to people. I know a lot of people love it, and if you want to know more, let me know, and I'll throw that out there for y'all to kind of see. Now, one of my favorite games, and I'm obsessed with it, is Necromunda. Necromunda is insane. It is small gang warfare in a hive city. If you want to talk about the lore, think about a city that has the population of close to the world stacked on top of each other. Think kind of Blade Runner-y. So this is a pretty big kit. It's $290, which is pretty, we're dipping into the bank account a little bit. But if you look at what you're getting a full gang. Like, you would not need, if you you wouldn't need another miniature. In fact, in the beginning of playing a campaign, you wouldn't be able to use all of them, which is cool, because as your gang grows, you get to add some miniatures. So you get the cheese dicks themselves. These, man, I'm trying not to spray my hate at these guys. Are I don't like to use terms like OP or anything like that, but they are easily kind of some of the most powerful. They are the most powerful gang in the Underhive right now in Necromunda. The Corpse Grinder cult is insane, super undercosted, super overpowered, and then you have the Palatine and forces. So it's basically cops versus cannibals. These are the cops. He's got a big door jammer, blow open a door. Guys got your enforcer shields. They got some auto guns. Guys got a maul to punch somebody's face in. What's really, really amazing about this game is it's very small. It's hyper customizable as to the gear and how your gang functions for you. The campaign is amazing in that different types of level ups are super granular. So the gang that I play is the Goliath. And they are big old roid heads. I'll see if they have, yeah. So these are the Goliath boys, and this is exactly who I play. They all have mohawks, and I sported a mohawk for years and years and years. The development of each of your gangers, single guys, is pretty amazing as well. As you level up, each one of them will gain different stats and abilities. Injuries actually mean something, and they carry over. They will actually change, if your guy, let's say, gets shot in the leg, you have to take him to a doctor. He may or may not survive. So there is a huge part of an RPG in this as well, if you find a small group of people that want to continue to kind of build a gang. And it's pretty cool. Like, let's say that guy that we were talking about that got his leg destroyed. So for a couple of rounds, he was hobbling around. He got a penalty to his ability to move. But maybe he gets enough credits and enough dough, and he actually goes back to the doctor and gets a bionic leg. And that'll change his stats. He'll be better than he was before he had the bionic leg. So I really enjoy the ability to build into my characters, to really flesh out my gang. And each gang has books, very in-depth books. My second gang is ogres. Again, that's these guys, right? I'm painting them a little bit different. I'm going with like an orange, because I like the kind of the construction vibe, because they are supposed to be, they're slave ogres, and they broke free of their chains to make their own gang and fuck the system. So cool stuff. Big goods, big chungus. Again, I converted mine. You saw, this is my leader, and he's got a huge pair of snippers, which the rules on that are insane. Snip anybody clean in half, no matter how much armor you have. Yep. So, I like the big guys in this particular universe. There's also your Delac your sneaky sniper boys. They use gases and poisons and net guns and toxins, and they're not about brute strength. They're about information and subterfuge and making your gang second guess themselves. Pretty sick dudes. I'm a big Delac fan. I was on the fence whether I go Delac or Goliath, and I kind of segues into this next part of I actually made my gang of Goliath able to be used in the next game system as well that I'll go to, because it's another small warband type game, and that is Kill Team. So Kill Team is basically the armies, factions, and overall aesthetic of Warhammer 40,000 in small size, in skirmish battle, in a kill team, right? So again, your size of armies, or again, kind of just teams. You know, the only two they have right now are the Tau, and this is, you're probably going to want a battle suit or so in here, but $50 will easily get you started. The thing that's nice about these rule books, the core rule book actually has the rules for every faction in it, right? So it has the scenarios, it has the factions, it has everything you need in that rule book. And all you need to do is go grab some minis. There's some scenery, and that's why they kind of have those nice, $100 to get you a map and the scenery. And really all you need is the manuals. Elites is really nice to have if you want some cool stuff. Commanders, isn't mandatory. Like, you're not going to find very many tournaments and things like that with commanders. But again, I got commanders when I ran my campaign here in New York. It was a combination of the core rules, the elite rules, and the commanders. Commanders I like because it lets you pick kind of a big chungus, right? A big dude to go ahead and lead the warband, be the guy, do the thing. But as I said, I converted up my Goliath to be able to play in this game as well. So there's 2 birds with 1 box set. And then I actually made it compatible with 40k as well. So it also turned into a full unit of, actually 2 full units, because I ended up getting 2 boxes, so 20 guys. Turned into 2 units of veterans, Imperial Guard Catachan veterans in that game. So I got about 500 points out of just that. And with the new Crusade rules, you can do that. So Kill Team, again, they just have the 2 factions shown here. And they did have a start collecting, but again, it's out of, not a start collecting, but the starter set, which came with Space Wolves and Tau and all the scenery and the mats and dice and cards and everything you needed. $160 will get you out of box playing, probably 20 minutes to a half an hour of assembling scenery, and you will need some glue for this scenery, but after that, you're good to go. You can just play. And they don't necessarily need to be painted for you to start going right into the play scenario. And then, much like Kill Team, there is Warcry, which is the AOS version, basically, of Kill Team, where small warbands, right? And they come with everything you need. They come with the cards. They come with the rules. It's less customizable than Kill Team. So if we put it on a continual beat, Necromunda, the most customizable. You can basically make a gang from scratch if you want. They have things like Venator rules and things like that, where you can just basically pick models and customize rules for them. They have, rule sets as to okay, this guy's going to be 60 points if he has this stat line, and then you can pick additional war gear if you want him to have, be a sniper or have a flamer or carry grenades or have more armor or a hollow field or some kind of whatever. Those are all points that are baked in, so it's easy to customize and a la carte that. Next is Kill Team, which is a little less customizable, but still definitely each one of your guys, you can kind of pick what gun and gear they have. and some specialization as to you get 4 specialties. You know, someone can be a close combat expert, someone can be the comms guy, someone is the sergeant, so on and so forth. And then you get into Warcry, which is AOS, and there is almost no customization other than different members within each of your warbands, right? So there's an ogre here, there's this guy who carries a standard, this person has a whip. Each one of them, right? So as you see them here, each one of them also has a card that comes with them and a points cost. And so you play 1,000 points. Here, this guy is 235. If you wanted to, you could have 2 ogres, 3 ogres. Like you can have multiple of them in your warband. But the way that it sets now, you would also need, you know, multiple of the $50 boxes, and it's already coming with these other gangers. So you're sort of encouraged to use these other actors, right? And that's why I was very excited for the year, almost a year lead up to when Warcry dropped from when they first showed it. I immediately got a warband. We started playing a campaign down at this local store. Played the campaign, and then we had a tournament. Got my balls kicked into the tournament, but I did win the painting competition, so that was cool. Actually won this limited edition model out of it, so I'll probably start a Nightheart army with that. Have a suite on the wall. Have a sweet award for winning that paint competition. Actually sort of meant a lot to me. Was pretty excited about that. And uh-oh, notification, what's going on here? Health plan stuff, cool. Okay, so, you know, that was a little disappointing, honestly. I understand why people like Warcry, and the thing that is cool is each one of these warbands actually goes straight into AOS, as a unit. And some of the warbands are very, very good, and you know, it's worth a look. And some of the models here are, I mean, I want to do a Necromunda warband with just some of these models. I mean, they're so good. Like, what is this? The motion's got like a grenade. One of the things that I love is there's actually a third hand in here with another grenade. This dude's got 3 hands, super sick. These models are just the dynamics. Yeah, it's just a dynamic model. So, I mean, Warcry brought a lot of amazing models. This is probably the warband that I would turn into a Necromunda warband, and it's been done a lot. I think this looks super cool in the Underhive. You know, switch out that sword on the shoulder for a shotgun or something. Just leave him with one of these weapons, put a gun in the other hand, and you've got yourself a little Necromunda savage gang. The models are beautiful. They're way sick. And that leads us right straight from all the box games. So we have those small versions of the bigger games and some of their own unique games. That leads us to AOS and 40K. Right now I've been focusing on AOS. The thing about AOS is if you like Magic, if you like high fantasy, ultra high fantasy, then, you know, this is the space for you. You're gonna want to find yourself here. You know, if you're into elves and dwarves and orcs, I mean, this is it. This will scratch that itch. 100% it will. And the wife actually was really into that. Want to become famous? Yeah, of course I do. Thanks, bot. Gotta get a little bot filter on there, huh? And you have a lot of the same. I mean, you have your order guys, your chaos, your death. If you're into vampires, there's another one. If you're into vampires, zombies, ghosty, ghosty boys, this is where you want to go. This is the universe you're going to find yourself in. And that's the same. And the reason why I didn't explain too much of this for Kill Team or AOS or for Warcry is because Warcry is in this universe. So you saw they didn't have that. They had a decent selection of warbands, but they weren't that big. Any of the factions in here are going to have a Warcry warband. Now, you won't be able to use all the models. Like, you can't use this Black Coach, this big old chunky $123 monster beast. You can't use this guy in Warcry. He's just a little too big. But Executioner, I have this model. Absolutely, you can use an Executioner all day. You want to use some of these Harridans, the Death Scythe Harridans? Absolutely. So we're just doing like a little model viewing today, kind of talking about the overall system of how it works. You know, because tomorrow, Tuesday, right, is going to be a hobby day. So we're going to be able to get into tomorrow isn't even going to be so much of me hobbying, right? It's going to be kind of going through the hobby and what it takes to hobby, what is you know, paint wise, what are you looking at, everything like that. I won't get into that now because that's for another day. But if you want to do ghosties, AOS is where it's at. Some of these ghosts are, I'm actually probably going to do some ghosties. We can look at some of the bigger, more impressive ghost models. This is Lady Olander. She's the Mortarch of Grief, the God of Death. Nagash. He made her a Mortarch, and now she floats around and always snaps off her base, and then you have to make a new one. No. Major buff piece. Yeah, just kind of giving some overviews, right? So let's just go through death. We got the Flesh Eater Quartz. And this is like your classic ghoulie. These ghouls. Not quite zombie, right? They're these sculpts are a little bit older. So I'll show you kind of a newer one for this. This guy's kind of a badass, right? It's pretty sick. Digging this dude. So think vampire, sort of Nosferatu style. You know, have definitely fallen. Now, these guys actually have a pretty sick lore piece behind them that I'll give you guys a teaser on. So they have a specific curse where when you look at them, you think they are these gross, zombified, man, smash bats. That's what that is. These gross zombie flesh eating. I mean, it's Flesh Eater Quartz, right? These guys just eat people, eat living creatures. But this crazy curse that they have is amazing in that I think it's one of the best pieces of writing that they've really done is they don't see themselves like that. They used to be a line of a lineage, right? This nobility, a line of nobles, noble blood, and they still see their court. That is why it's called Flesh Eater Quartz, is they still see themselves enacting these very noble deeds. One of my favorite little stories that they had was, you know, this group of the ghouls are out on a hunt, and they are, in their minds, they're in all of their regalia, and they're hunting fox, and really they're chasing this woman and her baby, and they're chasing her down in this dark forest, and you know, long story short, they end up catching her, and then the scene shifts in their mind to them laying out to this amazing picnic, and they caught the fox, and now they're having a picnic, and this picnic is just them eating this lady and her baby. it's super metal. And so you can actually kind of play two sides to this, you know, be a good guy who's a bad guy. You think you're a good guy, and you're kind of a bad guy. And then there's OC Bone Reapers, and these are bad guys who know they're bad guys and don't give a shit. The bone tithe. They expect everyone to pay a tithe in bones, and they are these soul reapers, right? Soul reapers and bone shapers. They actually take the elements, right? They take these bones and meld them into. It's not like they just raise the skeleton, right? They actually take. You can see it's coming off the back of this giant skull, and it's forming into this other warrior. So they're not just raising a skeleton or a zombie from the ground. He's actually taking the time to reshape this creature, right, into a new warrior. And instead of having a single soul inside, has multiple. The greatest warriors are pushed into, maybe 5, 12, 19, 20 of these warriors are pushed into a single body to be the best warrior. And they got this great samurai vibe. This here is Catacross. He is their big cheese, the big chungus, the biggest boy for the OC Bone Reapers. Let's give you a little 360 on this guy. Yeah, zombie, vampire, bat. Sorry, I didn't even see how long ago that was. I was like lost in the stream, man, lost in the sauce. Yeah, so, I mean, big boy, shaping the bones, bone shaping. These guys are super elites. If you're looking for, a little super elite army, here's a harvester. The only thing that sucks about this guy, right, is think about you're getting reshaped into this giant monster bone sack. This thing literally just picks up bones with its tail, puts it into here, right? Puts the corpses into here to be reshaped later and smashes things to bits with these mauls. But if we look closely, very closely, gotta find a good pick for this. Maybe it's the very first one. Yep. If we're looking close here, somebody is straight up this dude's crotch hands. This dude's face is this dude's crotch. Crotch hands. He's got these other little arms here on the side. There's his big smashers. He's got like spirit bones inside of him, but this dude he got reformed as a giant person dick. Unfortunate, bro. Unfortunate. So, there's some OC Bone Reapers. That's I think we've covered a lot of death here. And so in death as well, there is Legions of Nagash. And the Legions, right? Nagash is... You can play as the Bone Daddy himself, the God of Undead. He's a monster beast. He can cast lots of magic. He can fuck your day up. He's a big boy. And you may see some similarities to some Warcraft characters as well. But yeah, he basically invented undeath. And that's what that guy does. But the Legions of Nagash lets you play all of them, right? Lets you take a little bit of this undead, and you can have Black Knights, and you can have regular skeletons, and you can have wraiths, and undead. If it's undead, you can have it, right? Corpse carts, and these Morghasts are pretty sick. Very much so that OC Bone Reaper vibe. You can easily ally those in. So anything death you can bring into that squad. Morning, Laserhawk. I don't know if you're still here. It's good to... Oh, Laserhawk did... What's poppin'? Man, I'm bad at following my stream right now. I'm gonna have to move that over so I can see a little bit better. Yeah, so now this guy's got some different weapons too. Cool. So if you're looking at death in general, obviously a lot of their vampire stuff is sold out because they are in the middle of remaking all of it right now. Great. So that is death. Then we have destruction. Destruction is as destruction does. They are just here to break stuff. Let me see how that's pretty hot. It's probably gonna melt my shoe. And this is where you get into destruction. Where you go. This is where you get into the biggest of the chunguses. This has the newest Sons of Behemoth. Yep. Big and expensive, but you really only need, I think, max 6 models, right? So like $400, $600 will get you a whole army. Now you can get other armies for much cheaper than that, but very easy to move, right? You only have like 6 models to go ahead and move around. Flying drones, cool. I love that. Yeah, you flying with Ed? That's sick. If you Oz. So like I said, big expenditure, but you get the biggest guys on the table. I mean, they have like 30 wounds. They just stomp around. You can actually destroy scenery. You can kick objectives. You can move objectives in the game, right? So if you were thinking about, let's say, a StarCraft sort of a simile, right? You could go over and move crystals. Just move them. Just yeet them out the way. And in destruction, obviously, there is a lot more. This is where you have all of your orc tribes. You have your Iron Jaws. You have your Savage Orc Boys. You have your regular Iron Guts. You have your Gloomspite Gits, your Goblins, riding Cave Squigs. You have your Loon Shrines. It's all of the more feral races. Even when, you know, like the brutes for the Iron Jaws are assembled. The thing that I've always loved about orc psychology is you never really need to think too hard about what the lore is as to why they're showing up at a fight. They're showing up to a fight because there's a fight to be had. Period. Like, there's somebody who wants to scrap. They're down to fuck. They're down to get down. And that's just a cool ethos that I always vibed with. Especially as kind of a new player. There are orcs are a great intro as to styles of play. There's absolutely a style of play that you can get away with that is run across the board and smash the shit out of stuff. 100%. It's not a rocket science style of play. You want to get a whole bunch of greenskins and buff them up and teleport them across into somebody's face and just smash? That's orcs all day. Now, it grows really well. So the interesting thing about this army, right, like it has a very low floor. The floor to get into is not complicated. And if you go Iron Jaws, it's very simple. But as soon as you start bringing in some of the Savage Orc Boys as part of the Orc clans and start getting into some of those tricky Ricky kind of schemas, it gets complicated quickly. Now, I'd love to mention getting over here, the Beast Claw Raiders. Heywo, I know you guys keep hearing me talk about him, and I will get his content up on my channel. I just posted my first video this morning, but I will get his content up on my channel as well on YouTube. Yes, Ed, I'm coming over to follow you as well. But he actually plays what we call monster trucks in the game, which is just, you know, like 7 of these really, really big Stornhone, but basically mammoth beasts. And it's a really good starting army as well because you're not playing in every single phase. Like, you don't have to worry too much about a magic phase. You don't have to worry about a massive shooting phase as well. You're really worried about movement and positioning, which is a huge part of the game already, and then smashing face in combat, because you do hit like a ton of bricks. So it's a great, it's actually a really good starting army. Is the Beastclaw Raiders, which are part of the Maw tribes, Ogre Maw tribes. Yep, almost so close to pulling the trigger on that myself, because I did want an elite army. I ended up going Nurgle, and now I'm right back into playing a fucking Horde army, which is always my lot. I always find myself somehow back in a Horde army. But again, the Beastclaw Raiders, you could put 7 models on the table, and that's an army. Big boys, but that's an army. Honestly, same with part of the Gloomspite Gits have a whole sub-faction that is the Dankhold Trogoth, and they are trolls. Giant fucking trolls. These guys, another one with them is you could probably get away with, I think probably 12 models or so on the table. A couple of these big Dankhold Trogoths, and then some smaller trolls to go with them. Have some pretty good resistance to magic, have some pretty good stompiness to them. Super competitive. I haven't seen it yet. Doesn't mean it's not out there. Doesn't mean somebody couldn't work the tech. But big chongas for sure, and lots of fun. That is for sure. So Destruction has some of the biggest models, has some of the lowest count elite guys, has some of also what I would just say is fun factor. The Gloomspite Gits, if you're not playing 120 of them on the table, the goblins, you can't make a very competitive army out of the squigs and the Boingrot Bounders. All of their movement is pretty randomized, and that really hurts. So that's kind of, I have some of those models, and that's what my Warcry warband was. And there was a handful of missions that I would almost auto win. It took me about a turn to win, 2 turns to win, and then the rest of the missions were an uphill battle, were a huge struggle. So, and I feel like that is the same with them, kind of in AOS as well. Is you're gonna find yourself in some scenarios that you really crush, and if you roll well, you're gonna absolutely demolish. But as soon as you are rolling subpar, you're gonna feel it, and that may be fine for you. You may be there to just watch the whole thing explode, because that happens. Right, they will absolutely. It's a gamble, man, and sometimes that's just the rush of it. And if you don't mind that, to absolutely dive in. Their models are gorgeous too. They have some sick scenery, and the Boingrot Bounders and the Squig Riders they're some of my favorite models. They're just scream Warhammer, and that's kind of Destruction in a nutshell. And then we'll go to Order. Order is like your good guys, more or less. There are some interesting dark players in here. Most of your elves have some kind of other purpose for being there. And we'll start with what my wife plays, and they just got a new book. They got new dice. They got new endless spells. They have a character who was on her ascent to godhood and now has achieved godhood. There is a start collecting box with them in it and Slay Niche. I say start collecting. It's basically a learn how to play scenario. Comes with the snakes. It comes with Canary. It comes with Slay Niche. Comes with one of the new iron scales. It is a complete box, but these are elves who are obsessed. They are glass cannons. They're obsessed with bringing the pain. They, are hit hard, hit fast, hit often, blenders. A lot of armor? No. Are there ways to buff their armor? Yeah. They are easily on the power creep scale A+. A+, maybe S+, depending on the build. S+ broken, depending on the build. But you have flying units. You have fast, almost cavalry type units. You have giant cauldrons. The only thing you don't have is like monster creatures, right? Monsters that fly, like a dragon or something like that. But anything else, like you have in your toolbox, the Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter, like you can run a horde army with them as well. They really do it all, and they do it well, and they're there for blood. They use blood in all of their sacraments. So if you are into blood, then you get down with them. And they were created by Marathi. As I said, she was on her ascent to godhood. That's all a part of the lore, which I'll save for when we get into some lore. Get a stretch in. Okay, so that kind of goes to Idnith Deepkin. We'll run through the elves really quick. Idnith Deepkin were made by one of the gods, Teclis. He is an elf god. He tried to make this, he pulled these elves out of this demon and tried to kind of give them an ode to where they had come from. And he sort of sucked at making them. So he broke them. And their souls were weak. So they had to start stealing souls. So you're saying, wait, they're order, but they steal souls? They don't want to be stealing souls. They're actually trying to figure out how to stabilize them. But that is why all the Namarti, they're kind of like half-souled. They don't have eyes. But who needs eyes when you're in the depths of the ocean? So they fled. Teclis was going to destroy their god, was going to wipe them off the map, even though he just made them. So they actually fled to the deepest parts of the oceans and all of the realms. And they learned, since they had this elf DNA magic within them, they learned the ways of basically water bending, water magic, choral singing, and now they ride giant sea turtles and sharks and eels and hang out with octopus and stuff. They have some really interesting builds. Right now, building a buttload of eels and just having a very fast flying army is crazy. And you may say, well, how are they always like, if I have these landlocked dudes, waterbending, exactly. If you have these landlocked dudes, you know, like my orcs and something like that, how are they fighting these guys? Well, what's really cool about them is their water magic is so strong that they actually, they call it the ether sea. And as they walk on land, they basically bring the ocean with them. And not in like a giant tidal wave. The air just becomes magically immersed as water. So to water creatures, the air is water, and to land creatures, it is still air. But you can smell the brine of the ocean. You become a little slower because it does start to resist you some. And similarly with the water creatures, it's a little airier, right? And so it's this interesting mix. And even in their rules, the way that their gameplay, it's a tide, right? So high tide is third turn. There's 5 turns in the game. High tide is third turn. Third turn, they will absolutely dick stomp you. Models are sick. Dudes riding eels. Dudes on giant tortoises. Again, the main build is that. There is another build that I think is very competitive and also just really cool, but it is, again, classic. I don't know how I do it. I automatically build. Fights are not always on land. Great question. They can actually be in a lot of places. Again, you can go down to the water, right? And you say always on land. We also have to remember that there's realms, right? So when we talk AOS, we're talking these realms. And there is Akshi and Shyish and Gairan. And each of the realms is a hyper collection of kind of an aspect of a magic. So Akshi, easiest one to remember. Akshi is fire. And so everything in there is imbued with some type of fire. Now, the closer you are to the center of a realm, the more it is, you could say, like Earth. You know, there's farming and agriculture, and it looks very similar to what you would think of as Middle Earth or something like that. And as you get farther out to the edges of the realms, because they are almost like discs, right? You have to remember this is like a very magical, very high fantasy place. So almost like planes in the sense of magic, right? They are these interesting universes unto themselves. Each of these planes are, right? Each of these worlds, each of these realms. So actually, as you go to the outside, things become more fiery. And while you're in the realm of Akshi, you will find your emotions heightened, right? And easier to become angry or to become very passionate about things. And the trees, you know, you'll have trees that it's always warm, right? Like it's a hot tree, and it may just blister little fire shoots out of it. And as you go toward the edge of the realm, you may have trees that literally are basically just made of parts of lava. Instead of rain, it might be an acid rain or a hot water rain, and this is like, think of it again as that continuum, is like the farther you get out into a realm, the crazier it gets and the closer you get. One of my favorites is Gairan, and that is the realm of life. So everything is alive. There are literally 2 continents. One of the continents is male, one of the continents is female. The continents literally collide and fucking make more land. Like, they make land, they make life, and on those continents, right, there's like mostly female things and mostly male things. Not that that is just generally, it's like female things are more empowered on that female continent, and you know, male on the male, and it's about life, and think of it as like a massive rainforest times a million. And as you get out into the realms, that life magic becomes immense. If you walked too far out, you may turn into a tree. You may, if you were a female, you may just start giving birth continuously, like as you came out to that realm, because it's just life. It's life magic. It's all things life. What's it like, the realm of death? It's interesting that in the realm of death, you know, you would think that things are super undead, but you have people who are alive living in the realm of death. And what happens in the realm of death is, if you had a tribe that had some type of belief, let's say Valhalla, and you die, if enough of you believed it, you would show up in the realm of death. Let's say you were living in Akshi, you would show up in the realm of death, and your idea of what that afterlife was would be made manifest. And that's where Nagash, he actually came around and started eating these minor gods that these people had made. And he was like, nope, I run death. Like, if you want to be in my realm, you worship me, and you realize death is my shit. And some pretty, I mean, again, that's a whole other thing. Some very interesting shit out there. If you're interested in any more realm, right, 2 Plus Tough is a YouTube channel, and he just dives into tons of lore on every single, you can find every kind of lore. He is a great content creator. I love 2 Plus Tough. And I will put some of that up on the page as well. But yeah, you don't always fight on land. That's kind of how realms work. And in each of the realms, right? That's why, even though they're in oceans, the Idnith Deepkin, even though they're in oceans, they may be in oceans in different realms. So the ocean in a realm may also affect kind of how they function as an army or as a collective. And then we'll kind of go to the last of the elves as a collective, which is the Lumineth Realm Lords. And they are the closest thing we have to kind of the traditional Tolkien elf. They are magic wielders supreme. You can actually be Teclis, the guy who spawned all of these elf races. Okay, well, not, I mean, he didn't spawn the Daughters of Cain, just the Idnith Deepkin is Lumineth Realm Lords. These guys have horses and lances and hammers. Their models are really cool. I've never really been a monster fan of these guys, and not because that they are elves. I love other elves much more. I'm actually waiting for some dark demon elves to come out, hopefully soonish. But one of the things I really dislike, I think Nagash is the only god that should be played on the table, and I really dislike that Teclis is a character that is on the table. He is very strong, but he's also killable. Did I kill your god? Do you not have a god anymore? Does your whole race not have a god anymore? I don't know. Those are stupid questions that I shouldn't have to answer. But that's my hot take. But if you're looking at, again, a super elite army that every single unit casts magic, you have extremely good ranged and missile weapons, so your shooting phase in the game is extremely powerful, and is also changing the meta right now. Like this is absolutely an army that you'd want to play. The thing about it is Lumineth Realm Lords are also, they have a very high floor to get into playing well, and also even higher ceiling. They have a lot of resources to manage. It's not just your points. They also have, everybody has command points. They have command points. They also have a realm stone that they use, this Lumineth Realm Stone. So you're going to have a lot of resources to manage, to kind of use crystals to pop abilities. And if you're new to a game, it's a very tough army to get into at the floor level. Oh, I cannot believe that I forgot about them as well. So there's Sylvaneth as well. So elves, no, kind of. Interesting. They are run by an elf god, and they are kind of elfin spirits in some cases, like spirit revenants, but they're really pissed off tree people at the end of the day, is what they are. So if you like giant tree lords that can cast tree magic, and big old Kronoth hunters that run around and are probably it's probably the army's best unit. Great army for you. Problem is right now the rules are dog shit. Models, some of the best in the range. Rules, atrocious, beyond bad, horrible. But again, you find them in every realm. So there are trees in every realm, and so depending on the realm that you're from, may dictate. Somebody did like an Akshi, and it was all basically like burnt bark, right? They did like this burnt bark army, and super sick. So super cool lore. Hopefully soon they will get some rules to match how dope they look. We already went over some dwarves in the last one. We got the Fire Slayers, Caradron Overlord, Cities of Sigmar does that. So, and then we'll hit this, which is really interesting. They're in order. They are Seraphon, is what they're called. They are from the old world. They are called lizard men because they're fucking lizard men. And it's really hard to kind of even in a single sweeping view get into what they are and what they do. They live in space. Literally, they live in Aztec spaceships, and they beam down onto the planet to try and stop chaos and try and keep some kind of order. That's why they are part of order. In the mortal realms, they are an interesting whack species unto themselves. That one you're just gonna have to dive into your own, or maybe I'll do a section and a cast all just on them. And that brings me to one of my favorite orders, which is Chaos. There are the 4 Chaos gods. Khorne, the god of blood. Tzeentch, the god of plans and trickery. Slaanesh, the god of hedonism. And Nurgle, the god of rot. Now, each of them is interesting in that they also manifest in some other ways, right? Khorne is the god of blood, but kind of you could say martial prowess, right? His chant that his people have is blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. He sits upon a throne of skulls. He thinks magic is cheesy and weak, and only cowards use it because they don't have the strength to enact their will physically. Whereas Tzeentch is his nemesis of a god, where Tzeentch is obsessed with magic, uses magic heavily, and everything is according to plan. He plans the plan, within the string of the line of, I knew I was going to fail, so I planned to fail to not fail. That is Tzeentch. And Slaanesh was spawned because the elves are so hedonistic that they literally spawned a deity with their debauchery. Crazy. And Nurgle, that's the god I have been playing and worshiping a lot recently, is the god of death. It's not death in the same way as like Nagash. It's really the god of putrescent life, right? He's always trying to make more life, but he loves bacteria and fungus and rot and ruin. Like, he is trying to always be in a constant state of entropy. Everything is rotting and decaying into nothing. But when you worship him, what's interesting about Nurgle is he takes away your pain. So you will have all of the sores and boils and putrescence, and you'll be melting and bloating, and you won't feel any of it. And a lot of people in the mortal realms find themselves worshiping chaos gods, not because they're like, I'm gonna be a bad guy, but because they may be in some little tribe, Norse tribe up in the middle of nowhere, and some plague comes, and they're watching people die around them, and so they cry out to any god who's listening, please take away the pain. And Nurgle's like, yo, that's my game, yo. It's the same with all the other gods, right? Someone who was in the military and found themselves rising in the ranks and loving being in combat and the thrill of besting an opponent, that martial prowess, may find themselves slowly being taken over by Khorne, because they are into the wanton bloodshed and power that brings. Whereas someone who, in a similar situation, may find themselves in that martial prowess arc, but wanting to perfect their abilities as a warrior, may find themselves being drawn to Slaanesh because it's the god of perfection and the god of excess and the god of, it's not just always debaucherous. It can be absolute perfection. They are seeking absolute perfection. And so they start worshiping Slaanesh and Tzeentch, the person who always wants to know and gain more knowledge and be a sorcerer and, maybe gain knowledge about something in his past or about his family or something like that. They may, with all good intentions, start down that path, and before they know it, they are succumbed to the ruinous power. And then there is Slaves to Darkness and Skaven. Skaven, you know what? I'm going to go kind of show some of these. First, we'll go to Nurgle. This is what I'm talking about. Nurgle's my boys. Maggotkin, big fat bloody boys. The Great Unclean One. 16 wound model. Comes on a huge base. He just rolls around the battlefield, throwing plague on everything and anything. They have major staying power. The thing about a Nurgle army is you're not going to win by wiping somebody off the table. That's not the strategy. It's attrition. You're going to get to the objective, and they're just not going to be able to chew through you. And then you're going to keep spawning more of you, and they're not going to be able to chew through you. And you're going to be able to use a couple of specific hammers with some spells to hopefully destroy some of their key pieces in their army, and then you're just going to stay there with your Nurgle guys, and you're just not going to go anywhere. It is a war of attrition. It is, and you do a lot of chip damage. And by chip damage, I mean little bit here, little bit there. It's not this massive wave of damage. It's little by little by little. And before they know it, they're like, oh man, that unit's like just kind of got chewed up. It's like, yep. So that is Nurgle. Khorne is sort of the opposite. You are trying to make blenders. You are trying to make things that absolutely just instantly annihilate shit. Oh, so with Nurgle, each of the gods has a summoning ability, right? To get more demons onto the battlefield. Khorne's is a blood tithe, and for everything that dies, you get blood tithe. That be that enemy units or your own units. Again, another saying is Khorne cares not from whence the blood comes, man. It's like wherever the blood flows from, he's about it. So it's some interesting game strategy and gameplay as to, you can feel good about your own stuff dying, right? You can yeet guys into combat to have them die, to get more blood tithe, to summon more units. It is that foot on the pedal style of play of you need people dying to summon more, to have them die to summon more. It is this vicious quick cycle, and really fun, right? To like really push and play that. Again, they have priests, right? They don't have wizards. They have guys that are praying to Khorne and doing these rites of blood to stop magic, because they hate magic, and create these other interesting scenarios. Tzeentch, he is the god of magic. He is the god of change. Everything is changing, evolving. Nothing is what it was just a moment ago. And man, their summoning tactic is they get a Gaunt Summoner. I'm trying not to be jaded here, and they just throw a whole bunch of models on the table. They use Destiny dice, and they can roll dice before a game, and they just, whatever those dice are, they can switch out dice in game. So if you really needed a 6 and you had rolled a 6 earlier, you can swap that out. So you can do some really crazy shenanigans with Tzeentch. Tzeentch has been powerful in the meta for a very long time. Kind of under one specific build, but there are some other builds that are sort of emerging, and you can ally in a lot of cool models as well, Zangors and things like that. You can make some fun little lists, some kind of broken lists. If you like the color blue, play those guys. Now Tzeentch is the major arch nemesis of Nurgle, right? They all sort of don't get along. Tzeentch and Khorne don't like each other because Khorne doesn't like magic. Tzeentch and Nurgle don't like each other because Tzeentch is the god of change and Nurgle is the god of entropy. Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Khorne, you know, all sort of get along. Did I say Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Khorne? I meant Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Khorne, right? It's all on this like rock, paper, scissors to each other. Slaanesh doesn't like Khorne because Khorne is all about just destroying and killing, and he doesn't really like the finer things in life. Slaanesh is all about that. So if you have a Slaanesh army, you can ally in Tzeentch and Nurgle, but not Khorne. Like my Nurgle army, I can, with Nurgle, I can ally in Slaanesh and Khorne. If you are Tzeentch, you can ally in Slaanesh and Khorne, but not Nurgle. And Khorne, you can ally in Nurgle and Slaanesh, or Nurgle and Tzeentch, but not Slaanesh. That sounded like a fucking mouthful, and it is. Maybe I'll put up a graphic at some point that's like a nice little circle that sort of shows how all of that works. Now, that's them. And then you have this sort of outrider who is Skaven. And I love Skaven. Skaven are one of the first things that brought me into this beautiful, amazing game. Because they are like nothing I've ever seen anywhere else. Some people absolutely hate Skaven and think they should not even be a thing. But the thing that I like about them is you can't find them somewhere else. They are not Cobalt. They are not something that you find in Dungeons and Dragons or in Tolkien. They are Ratmen. There is this stuff called Warpstone, and they eat it. And it is like mega, think of a mix between crack and catnip and meth. They go super crazy for it. And they also infuse it into technology. I love that they are magic wielders. They are technology wielders. They are geneticists. They make giant abominations. They sew and weld and do all of this crazy stuff. And it is wild. And they are chaos. So you can ally them in. In fact, I allied the Plague clan into my Nurgle. So, you know, Chaos has a lot of cross compatibility with who can play in what army books and who you can ally in, whereas Order has less of that. You can absolutely ally in, but as I showed you in the last time when I built some lists, but it's not just straight across the board. And 40k, you know, is its own thing as well. Same kind of chaos gods and that kind of thing. And I think I'll probably jump into that at a later point. I would eat, that sounds tasty. Ratman. Yeah, you would eat the Warpstone. Exactly. Warpstone would get you hype sauce for sure, dude. I'm actually calling it a day for now. Try and check out my YouTube video. I know the sound's a little jacked on it, and I will republish it because I gotta export it and turn that thing to a mono channel and get it back on there. But check out my YouTube channel. They'll be trying to publish on there very regularly, about every 2 days, get something else up on there. And I will be on here streaming daily as well. Tomorrow is Tuesday, Total Hobby Tuesday. We're actually going to be talking about painting, what it takes to kind of get into that aspect of the hobby, and how to work on your paint game, what is the time requirement, what are some of the best ways to get into painting, and that is Tuesday. Wednesday, again, is War Wednesday. We will be going over a battle report. Laserhawk, I know you were really looking into seeing some battle report come down. And then Thursday
is a special guest, and I haven't figured out exactly who this special guest is. I had my wife on last time. I may bring her on again, or I may bring on somebody who hasn't done any sort of Warhammer whatsoever and kind of go through that. I think having some new people on as to people outside of the hobby is important. And then we'll also try and get some people who are experts in the hobby as well. And that is Thursday. And then Friday is a wrap up of the whole week. And kind of looking into the next week and what kind of news has been coming out, because on Saturdays they usually do big previews, and so we can tee up some previews and some speculations. All right, everyone, this has been another great day. I hope you all have a beautiful day out there. This is Snitbag signing off of the Fat Middle. May you all have a wonderful day and keep rolling.